This guy's story is like completely falling apart. Like, what the fuck even happened now?
I don't know. Like, who gives a shit?
Now he doesn't know? The reason why is because he was lying the whole time, and once it got fact-checked, he didn't even want to try to defend it.
I looked through my emails to find whether or not the Department of Homeland Security had responded. I also found out that a while back, they had also revoked my global entry. So I finally got a response back from the Department of Homeland Security, but they had already taken away my global entry clearance months prior. You know, they revoked it before my entry, and I didn't even know.
Wait, so what even happened? So he went through the global entry line, and then they didn't even pull him in for an entry interview, for a global entry initial interview, like for conditional approval. They just, what even happened? I don't even know what happened.
And what's even crazier is at no point did they even mention that they had revoked my global entry.
Did you have like a number, or did you have anything for, you get like a card, don't you? I have global entry. I know I've done this. Where do you look up if you have global entry? Oh no, I did do this. Okay. I thought I fabricated memories. Oh. Approved. And then you get a number, membership number / pass ID. When you come back, you've got the normal line, and then you've got like the global entry line. And for you to go through the global entry line, you have to have, you have to be in that system. You can't just like walk through. I feel like this guy's story is like completely falling apart. Like, what the fuck even happened now? The timeline was completely off. It sounds like he went through the wrong fucking line, because in total he was detained for maybe 30 minutes, maybe. So he tried to walk through global entry with an expired card. No, he wasn't even approved for it. He had no approval.
They had also revoked my global entry. So I finally got a...
So he says revoked here. I don't know if he's being like intentionally retarded, or if he's just slow, or if it's the finasteride is like rotting his brain. Maybe it has to borrow from some of your neurons to regrow the hair follicles. It doesn't sound like they were... I'm sorry, actually, hold on. I was mean. Did they revoke it, or did he just never get approved? Let me listen again. I'm sorry.
And I looked through my emails to find whether or not the Department of Homeland Security had responded to my redress over my trip.
What was the email again? Show me the email again.
I also found out that a while back, they had also revoked my global entry. So I finally got a response back from the Department of Homeland Security, but they had already taken away my global entry clearance months prior. You know, they revoked it before my entry, and I didn't even know. And
revoked or denied? Okay, we regret to inform you that your membership at Global Entry has been revoked for the following reasons. You do not meet the program eligibility requirements. What? I'm so confused on what the timeline for all this is, because he said that he applied for Global Entry one time, and then he said that he missed the interview, or he went to the interview but he didn't bring his passport. Then he said that, oh no, hold on, I just had a brain blast. I hope this is not true. Wait, let me read this. Dear Hasan Piker, thank you for submitting your traveler inquiry form and identity documentation to the Department of Homeland Security Traveler Redress Inquiry Program regarding your participation in the Global Entry Program. CBP is tasked with protecting our nation's borders. Routinely access information provided by these agencies. All international travelers have to enter the U.S., including all blah, 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 blah. After careful review, we've determined that your Global Entry Program membership was revoked because you do not meet the guidelines for program participation. An individual is ineligible to participate in the Trusted Traveler Program if CBP, at its sole discretion, determines the individual potential risk of terrorism, criminality, violating customs, agriculture, and immigration laws, or otherwise not a low-risk traveler. This risk determination will be based in part on the applicant's ability to demonstrate past compliance with laws, regulations, policies, reasons why. Okay, the application provides false or incomplete information on the application. What, is there a chance? All of this is such bullshit at this point. Here's what I'm curious about. Because he didn't post any dates on these emails, did he? I wonder if he said that he applied for it. And when you apply for global entry, I think you can get like a conditional approval. Then, but it sounds like he actually had an interview. So it sounds like he applied for it. And then he said he drove to the office to do the interview, but that he left his passport at home, and he didn't have an ID for it, and so he went home and he missed that. I wonder if he got like conditionally approved, scheduled the interview, went to the interview, and then he didn't bring his passport, and then this is the email that they sent afterwards saying, "I'm sorry, we have to revoke your global entry, and the revocation is just for the conditional approval. I have no idea though. I'm just guessing. The timeline in the story, none of this like makes sense. Like all of this just feels so weird now. Like I don't understand how you go through the global entry line if you don't even have it. You're telling me that the U.S. border systems would just let anybody walk through the global entry line and they wouldn't even be able to ID that you didn't have global entry? Or it just doesn't make sense. And then months later, this dipshit just walks into the line thinking he has access, or he didn't go through that line. He literally just went through the normal ass line and then just got pulled aside for random questioning. I mean, do they actually do conditional approval? That kind of defeats the purpose. No, because you submit like an app, fuck me, dude, I hate mobile. You submit an application, and then as long as there's no red flags, you can just take the interview. You get conditionally approved, you can take the interview on your first international flight back to the United States. When you return, you can do the interview then. His redress inquiry, doesn't that imply that he asked shit to the DHS? Wait, where does he say? Does this say anything about a redress, or was that just what he said? Thank you for sending your traveler inquiry form and identity documentation to the Department of Homeland Security Traveler Redress Inquiry Program. Okay. So it did get revoked. Why would he not bring this up on stream? Like, I'm so confused, because this is just a thing that he would make content off of, right? Like if he was in the middle of streaming 4 months ago and they refused his global entry application, you don't think he would say something about that? Like, oh my God, guys, they're coming after me for my political speech. Like, this is so bullshit. They wouldn't even let me get global entry. Like, I don't understand why he wouldn't say anything about this. He said he didn't see the email, not sure of that. Well, wouldn't you search for it? If you're traveling internationally, you would have to. If you travel internationally, when you're filling in your information on your tickets, there's a thing there for known traveler number, and that'll have you put in your TSA pre or global entry or nexus number. So you'd have to put his number in there. So you have to go and look it up. You don't think at any point in this, you wouldn't think like, oh, do I actually fucking have global entry? Do you get a card? I think you can request one, but you have like a number. I don't believe any of this. I think it's all just a fucking lie. But he milked the fuck out of it, so it's already like success. Like, he did it. I mean, he milked the fuck out of all of this. So, what are the odds that he legit just found out about this now? I feel like I don't think that they would let you go through like an accelerated line without being approved, and nobody would say anything. They wouldn't pull you aside for an interview. They would just say like, oh, you're not in this. Like, go to the other line. What do you think the reality was? Well, as far as the stop, everything he describes, it sounds like he just got pulled aside for random questioning. It sounds like it was like about 15 minutes long. I think he basically admits as much now. He was on that stream, and I think he admitted as much. It was basically 15 minutes long. It was normal questioning, and then he went through. You do get a card for global entry. I mean, you might be able to request one, but I don't think you need it. Like, I think I have an option to order a card, but you just need the number, I think. And then everything is like eyes. I don't know if they do fingerprints. They probably do. Wouldn't this naturally come up during the questioning? Why are you in the GE line? You don't have a GE retard? No, it wouldn't come up during questioning. You wouldn't make it through the line. Like, pictures, airport, immigration, entry. What airport was he at? Was he at O'Hare? I don't know which one he said he came through. O'Hare? I don't know if I've ever flown back into O'Hare internationally, but all the others have come back in internationally. You have, there'll be like 2 different lines. One will be for like global entry, Nexus. I think Nexus is like Canada, USA, Mexico. I might be totally making that up. I think it's something like that. And then one line is just normal, where you go to these machines and you fill it out. But my guess is going to be that if you go to the global entry line, you try to get through there and you don't have global entry, you won't be able to pass the machine. Usually, once you go to these machines, you'll get a slip that'll have a picture on it and your name or whatever, some info, and then you go to the guys and you hand it to them. But you wouldn't get anything if you don't have global entry. The machine just it would say like not found or not or whatever, and you'd have to go to the other line. I don't know. All of this is weird. There's too much weird shit here, and he's already like a liar. Like I don't know. I don't trust any of this. I think the whole story is bullshit. But it's like airport security related shit, and he doesn't think anybody's ever gonna like publish anything about it and call him out, which is probably true. I mean, he got away with it, so. Video of O'Hare.
5 more minutes. U.S. O'Hare terminal lanes for U.S.
Usually, maybe this isn't the case ever, but they get mad at you when you have phones out here. Even in lines for immigration, I don't know why, like no phones.
Citizens tree over here. Our guy is still walking. As you can see, the signs over here: U.S. citizens and visitors, crew, and active military. Back in the days, they used to have separate lanes for U.S. citizens and visiting. All right, guys, we were told.
Why is it bad for him to lie about this? Because he tried to make it sound like he got pulled over for having viewpoints that are contrary to the Trump admin and then bullied or hassled or harassed for that. He's presented no evidence of that. His story has fallen apart under the slightest bit of publicly available data, under the littlest bit of scrutiny. And then he walked back his story basically immediately on that podcast. And he got like fucking international fame and articles and all that shit published for it, trying to show some shit that didn't ever happen. Because he just wants to feel like a victim and he wants to feel included in the public narrative over this.
Not to make a video of the immigration and custom, obviously. So
oh, they did tell him to put his phone away, yeah. Because normally in the lines here, they'll tell you to put your phone away.
U.S. citizens and visiting. All right, guys, we were told not to make a video of the immigration and custom, obviously, so we're out of the immigration and custom. And this is
okay, rip. This is such a waste of time because no one's going to give a fuck.
And they're processing everybody expeditiously. You walk up, boom, immediately they take your photo of your face, and you walk in, and there's a customs person there. Cop there just basically waves you, okay? And they do that over and over again. It gets to me. Take a photo, boom, walk in instantly. The Customs and Border Patrol agent goes, "Step aside, sir." I was like, "Here we go." All right. She goes, "Step aside, sir. An agent will come and take you to another location." I was like, "Is that proper protocol?" I was like, "Sometimes it happens." And I was like, "Okay." And I knew at that point, I was like, "Okay." I'm texting like family. I'm like, "This is happening." I'm texting my manager. You know, I was basically trying to, I got Lolo on. I was like, "Listen, you know, I'm going in. All right. I'm freaking going in. Who knows how long this will take."
Like we have the timelines on all of this. And when the plane landed, when that Lolo guy tweeted, like he was probably questioned for like 15 minutes. Somebody link him talking about this to Bad Empanada and Noah Sampson, because he basically says as much. Somebody give me the timestamp on that, because I think it's a huge walk back. But nobody gave a
what will happen. I had already heard like horror stories from people. There was like that one girl on TikTok that had talked about this, and I thought to myself, all right, it's done. It's happening to me as well. It is what it is. You know, M is real high. I'm about to say M is real high multiple times to get these guys off my back. So I'm waiting in the corner. This Latina ICE agent comes up, picks me up, takes me to this detention center. I sit down, fluorescent light bulbs, the whole nine. Okay. They have benches in the back of O'Hare Airport where there's like a detention area. Okay. There's a detention area. I'm sitting
center.
there. There's like a bunch of terrified families. Okay. There's an old lady in a wheelchair. There's like a mom and daughter behind me. There's some like random dude in front of me, and
I love them. Wait, fuck. Was this an Instagram reel or was this a YouTube video? When white people mention race, no reason. Fuck. What am I thinking of? I'm not gonna be able to find this. I feel like it was a reel. White mom mentions race, no reason. God damn it. I think it was an Instagram reel. It's like when your mom, like, so yesterday I was at the store and this very nice Nigerian-looking man, like if they were non-white, they always just like, man, just like, why? I don't know. Fuck, I'm not gonna be able to find it though.
The way it works is there's a back door.
Wait, so is Pisco just retarded? He seems to think he was totally vindicated that Hasan was detained for protected speech. Wait, what link? Unless Pisco has access to information. I think Pisco goes a little bit crazy on the, wants to be contrarian around some narratives, but Hasan has provided absolutely zero evidence whatsoever that anything happened related to anything like that had to do with his viewpoint. There's been zero evidence presented so far of that, and plenty of reasons to believe that that's not the case of what happened.
Right? And they take your passport, they go to the back door, you don't know what the hell's going on in there, but they sometimes come out and they just say someone's name with their passport in their hands, and they go, "You're clear to leave." Basically.
Wait, so I was completely correct that Hasan was detained in question for his protected political speech, LOL. There's been zero evidence, unless he has access to secret stuff. Actually saying how many people try to gaslight in defense / obscure Trump administration assaulted free speech. Yeah, there's just been zero evidence of this happening whatsoever. Don't get caught up in dumb narratives like this. There's so many good reasons to attack the Trump admin. You don't have to bite on every single thing and then look unhinged. This is, unless there's something that is, unless something's been released that I haven't seen. So I just want to round me out with this, round me out with it was the Noah Sampson, Hasan, Bad Empanada stream. Oh, I will find this. Got it. I found it, because I'm a god.
I got detained. I didn't get detained. Yes, chatter. Yes. ICE agents took me to a detention center. That is a de facto.
Took me to a detention center. They walked him 10 yards to the room that you sit and do customs interviews when you're coming back. Took me to a detention center.
Oh, detention. Like, what are you talking about? The total runtime of it was like 2 hours, which was definitely faster than I thought it was going to be, I will admit. And
total runtime was 2 hours, he says. And I believe that gets reported over and over again in the news articles about this. Okay, total runtime, remember that. 2 hours. 2 hours, okay? And then, what does he say here? Hold on.
no, they are
on,
servile dogs to American interests because primarily they want to diversify their investment portfolios. They want to get a stronger foothold in Western capital. They want Western capital to come into the country, and they care about those things, and they know that. And also, they like the weapons and possibly get a nuke. And all of those
if they
things
wanted a nuke, they would already have it. No one's stopping them.
I think Donald
They
Trump's
might already
gonna
have it, honestly.
I don't know. I don't know if they already have it or not, but by the end of Trump's presidency, I don't know how long that'll be. They probably will have one.
What do you think the world will look like at the end of Trump's presidency?
Nah, dude, I have no fucking idea. I don't know. He's the great peacekeeper.
Did you see that Dan Saltman, this is totally unrelated, did you see that Dan Saltman called you out because it's possible that your interview was 50 minutes instead of 2 hours? What do you have to say to that, Hasan?
It comes out.
Now remember, total runtime, 2 hours. He was giving a play-by-play of everything that happened. Okay, he had his phone on him, he was tweeting, he said 2 hours, and then Dan Saltman accused him of it only being 15 minutes, right? That's a pretty egregious, that's an egregious one. It's not like from 1 hour to or it's not like it was like 2 hours, it's like really like an hour and a half, maybe an hour, Chief. This is from 2 hours to 15 minutes. That's a huge reduction in time.
Yeah, dude, that was really funny because I think he openly admitted that he's lying, and it doesn't matter that he's lying. And what matters is the narrative.
Oh, sorry, 50 minutes instead of 2 hours. Okay. So just a little under half, my bad. But regardless, he did say 2 hours. He's a total runtime 2 hours.
Here, I need to, this you're in detainment, okay? I'm a CBP officer. I'm Iraqi. Saddam was a lion. And also, Saddam was a lion.
Yeah, he was a Baathist.
Every Iraqi I've ever met has told me that Saddam was a lion. And also, so how long was the interview?
Oh, I don't fucking know, dude.
Now he doesn't know? How many different news articles were written with the hours? Mr. Piker said he was questioned for 2 hours. Held for 2 hours at an airport in Chicago. How does he abandon that number? Instantly. The reason why is because he was lying the whole time, and once it got fact-checked, he didn't even want to try to defend it, which is smart on his point. He's like, he knows 100% that it's bullshit, and he just immediately dumped the entire topic.
And also, so how long was the interview?
Oh, I don't fucking know, dude.
I don't fucking know, dude. Hours, detained for hours by U.S. officials.
No idea.
I have no idea now. I have no idea. No idea.
He's I think they did a.
I mean, you probably weren't counting.
They did a timeline assessment, and I think they added some time to when the plane landed or something. I don't fucking know. Who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit? This disgusting subhuman fucking piece of shit, okay, who will fluidly switch between Turkish, Islamic, white, brown, whatever he needs to be a parasitic cancer, to leech off of whatever political moment exists for the smallest crumb of clout anywhere. Okay, manages to worm his way into a million different articles about this, what is probably still to this day the single largest example of the Trump admin fixating or focusing on somebody coming into the border, a U.S. citizen, simply for political beliefs, right? Is probably the example. And now he doesn't give a fuck about it. This is not good for a variety of reasons, guys, right? These are the types of stories that once all this shit is over with, conservatives point back on and say hey, look, you guys were fucking lying, right? That was bullshit, right? You guys admit that, right? That at least this was fucking bullshit. It's yeah, this story was fucking bullshit.
I mean, I don't know, it's Hasan Piker was only interviewed for...
How does this prove to Pisco? I don't know why Pisco. I think Pisco is just a little bit too unhinged on the anti-Trump shit. He should know better, though. There's no excuse. There's no reason. This is even if we dump all the facts and we don't know anything about the situation, even if we don't know anything about it, right? Imagine, I'm just trying to think of any emotional event in my life, something where I feel I was super wrong or something was really fucked. And I say something yeah, I was subjected to this. And then some other guy's I checked and you were subjected to 1/10 of that. You totally fucking lied. And then my response would be, I don't know. I don't remember. Who cares? Who gives a shit? What do you mean? The whole world gave a shit. Apparently, there were like 50 different articles published on it. What do you mean? Who gives a shit?
Officer, I'm Iraqi. Saddam was a lion. And also, Saddam was a lion.
Yeah, he was a Baathist.
Every Iraqi I've ever met has told me that Saddam was a lion. And also, so how long was the interview?
Oh, I don't f***ing know, dude. I have no idea.
It's just so crazy, from doing a whole stream breakdown of events, multiple interviews with mainstream media, and playing this event so much, playing it up so much to, I don't know anything about it. I don't give a, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? What do you, why would you not give a shit? This is an important thing, right? If you were getting pulled aside and you're getting questioned simply for a political viewpoint, that's an extraordinary thing. Because to even get to that point, there's a lot of stuff that must have gone wrong. There would have had to have been an order from the top. It would have had to filter down through management. It would have had to go down to employees, and it would have had to have been implemented in airports, and then it must be in practice right now, right? And there's a lot of people that would have been aware of this if that whole process is taking place, and no one said anything, and it must be in practice right now in all airports in the USA, like.
Interview.
Oh, I don't f***ing know, dude. I have no idea. He's I think they did a.
I mean, you probably weren't counting.
They did like a timeline assessment, and I think they like added some time to like when the plane landed or something. I don't f***ing know. Like, who gives a shit?
I mean, I don't know. Like, it's like Hasan Piker was only interviewed for 30 minutes. Okay, so what? I mean, they
Like,
interviewed you like in the,
Notice how his first question was 50 minutes. Now Bad Empanada's kind of joking. He says 30 minutes, and Hasan still isn't correcting him. So what was it? Was it like 10 minutes? 5 minutes? Did it even happen at all? Is there a chance that it didn't actually even happen? Is there a chance that when Hasan was pulled aside, what actually happened was he tried to go through the global entry line and they said, hey, two things. One, you're not allowed through the global entry line because you never got approved. And two, put your phone away because you're in immigration. And Hasan said, oh God, I'm getting detained. And he put his phone in his pocket and he said that. And then he just went through the 20-minute line for immigration and nothing actually happened whatsoever. I don't know. Who the fuck knows? Hasan doesn't. Even though every single minute of your life is regulated when you're in an airport, you know when you landed. It's available on the Google thing. You know when you're leaving the airport, you've got records for Uber. You know when you're in an area with cell reception, you're texting people, letting people know you're late. You know, you have the full timeline. You know every single thing. You know every single part of this journey. You probably minute by minute if you check your phone, right? I could probably go through minute by minute of me in the airport with Nathan this morning because I know exactly what I was looking at when I was sitting there waiting in line. I could go through my DGG logs and say like, oh, I'm in the line waiting for this. Oh, we got to go through this, approval here. I got to wait at the gate. I got to do this is crazy to be like, I don't know. I have no idea. Don't know anything about this. No clue what happened here.
It's like Hasan Piker was only interviewed for 30 minutes. Okay, so what? I mean, they interviewed you like in the place where they take the.
What is this? So this first piece of tweet is completely wrong. No, this was revoked months before the incident. So his detainment was due to a revocation of a global entry based on protected speech. This is just, Piso is just saying this, asserting there's no evidence. He has no evidence that this is based on protected speech. He has no reason to believe this. And he was additionally stopped. Oh, he doesn't even know why the revocation of global entry happened. Piso has no idea. There's literally multiple things listed here. You have no clue whatsoever. You don't know why. And he was additionally stopped and questioned on that exact same rationale. And he also, Pisco doesn't know that. Pisco is literally just fabricating stuff here. This is really, 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 really bad. Oof, where's Rob Noor at? This would be the exact debate that I would want to take up. Oh, man. It's viewpoint discrimination rationale for the stop and question, regardless of how you slice it. Yeah, there's literally zero destiny. Pisco is inferring this based on the admin's actions in other cases. Okay. One, I haven't heard of any case or anything having to do with a revocation of global entry because of a viewpoint thing. Two, we could dig through the cases that have happened, but for people being stopped and questioned. But it seems like there's always some extra thing happening. It's not just on their viewpoint. There's something else as well. Yeah, like based on this revocation and based on the fact that this was months ago, because Hasan didn't attach a date, it's possible that this global entry thing was revoked when Biden was still in office. This could have happened before January 20th or whatever. This could have happened before Trump was even in office. his stop was based on a revocation, which is unlawful viewpoint discrimination, then the stop itself is grounded in unlawful viewpoint discrimination. What? No. Moreover, he wasn't just told to get in normie line, he was specifically questioned on similar topics. Okay, this is a super delusional take. I don't know if you just really dug in on this or...
Non-citizens.
Yeah, the point of contention...
The email said his status was revoked because they suspect he presented a risk for terrorism, criminality, etc. Did they? I thought there was a huge list of things that were here where it could have been... Reasons why an applicant may not qualify for participation include, but are not limited to, the applicant provides false or incomplete information. Oh wait, or maybe this is a broad list of things why... Or no, wait. I don't think, did it tell us exactly why? Reasons why an applicant may not qualify. And then it lists all of these things. We don't know why. Read above the bullet list. It says that you do not meet the guidelines for program participation. An individual is ineligible to participate in the Trusted Traveler program if CBP at its sole discretion determines that an individual presents a potential risk for terrorism, criminality, violating customs, agriculture, and/or immigration laws, or is otherwise not a low-risk traveler. This risk determination will be based in part on the applicant's ability to demonstrate past compliance with laws, regulations, and policies. Reasons why an applicant may not qualify for participation include, but are not limited to, the applicant provides false or incomplete information, the applicant has been arrested for or convicted of any criminal offense, or is denied firearms transactions, pending criminal charges, protection orders, or outstanding warrants in any country. The applicant has been found in violation of any customs, immigration, or agricultural regulations. Procedural application is the subject of investigation by any federal, state, or local law enforcement agency in any country. The applicant is inadmissible to the U.S. under applicable immigration laws, known for suspected of having engaged in conduct constituting in preparation for an aid of or related to terrorism. The applicant cannot satisfy CBP of his or her low risk status. I don't think we know specifically why. Like, what I'm curious about, and because Hasan is like trickling out info here, I wonder if this was like a response to him being rejected because he didn't show up with his passport, and they denied it because of that. The applicant provides false or incomplete information on the application, maybe, but I don't know, because we don't have all the info here, but... Whatever. It could be for Hasan's DUI too. I wonder if they would reject it for a DUI. I'm sure they could, but I wonder if they actually would.
There isn't like the length of my interrogation. The point of contention there is the fact that they asked me about like what my loyalty is to Donald Trump, or
like no one asked you about your loyalty to Donald Trump, right? So it's crazy that he wants to downplay the time that he was hyperbolic on, and then he says, well, that doesn't matter. What actually matters is this other thing that now he's going to be hyperbolic on.
Yeah, people were trying to frame it like this is normal. Like this is something that happens to everyone when you internationally travel. No, when you internationally travel and they ask you questions, like they were comparing this to like, oh, you get asked when you give them your passport, and this is business or pleasure. They think it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah, no,
you were literally pulled aside for like an interview that they usually only give to like foreigners.
Yeah,
to ask you about basically whether you're a terrorist.
But also, what's funny about it is that like the Department of Homeland Security admitted that it happened. So I don't know why they're like still running this narrative that like this did not happen actually, because like the DHS openly was like, it did happen, but it's routine. He's lying for likes for saying he was politically
You want to know who
targeted.
did lie about something?
He talks about the time leading up to revocation. Listen for about 30 seconds from here. Ugh, I don't care about this. Nothing's going to come from this, so.
Was it revoked before Trump's inauguration? No, after. After. I got conditional approval before, way before Trump. I got conditional approval in 2024. I got a full-blown approval notification after Donald Trump's inauguration on 2/6, and then the revocation on 3/5. And I didn't even know that it was revoked. And it's really interesting because when I entered the country through global entry...
Wait, I'm so confused. So he went from conditionally approved. That means you have to come back to the country, or you've got to go do an interview. But it got approved without him doing an interview? Or it wouldn't just randomly get approved. You have to do an interview at an airport. When I did it, you had to do an interview at the airport. But then he's saying that it got revoked after he did an interview. And then he said he didn't know that it got revoked. But I thought that the email that he posted was responding to a redress form. So how did he not know that it was revoked? What was the redress that he was asking for? Didn't it say that? Thank you for submitting your traveler inquiry form and identity documentation to the Department of Homeland Security Traveler Redress Inquiry Program. So what? Oh.
they didn't even actually tell me that I didn't have global entry.
Well, it sounds like they literally told you, or he's saying they didn't tell him at the airport. It sounds like they told him in an email.
At no point in that detention did they ever say, I don't have global entry. When the Customs and Border Patrol, when the Department of Homeland Security released a statement, they didn't say, like, it was not even a consideration at all, which is very interesting. I think they let you reapply in a year. I don't think I'm going to reapply in a year. Now, global entry simply is...
I think he's just lying. I think he made some shit up because he knew we get a story on it. I should just make shit up for my stuff. But when the FBI was at my house a week ago, he point blank said, you know there is no freedom of speech right now on the internet. He said that to me. I was like, that's kind of a fucked up thing to say. But I get what he was saying. You just be careful when you're making death threats, I guess. But my story is more scary than this bullshit. What the fuck? They showed up at my house.
Hasan, XUC reacted to your take on the ICE protests. Just wanted to say you're 100% right. You weren't defending property damage. You were making a moral consistency argument. If people are mad about businesses getting hit.
This is so stupid. It's so cringe. Whatever. I don't care. Stop. I don't care about the story anymore.
I've seen this one too.
Fox News, she called me today. She said, you need to get out of LA. LA is burning. Aren't you scared? Meanwhile, this is what's going on in LA. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Keep in mind also, LA is a fucking huge place, guys. I actually can't draw LA, even though I kind of lived there for 3 years. But it's like, it stretches everywhere, whatever. But it's like, this is like LA, and the protests are like, I think they're like here. And people are like, LA is on fire! Ah! It's like when I was flying into Sweden with Melina, and I'm looking out the window expecting to see the whole country engulfed in flame.
Thank you. I got snacks. Sometimes people look at me crazy when I say I live in downtown LA. They're like, aren't you scared to live there? Tell me you don't get it without telling me you don't get it. Show me a city that shows up to defend its citizens the way LA shows up to defend its citizens.
This is also true, I think. Like, this is true every place. I feel stupid repeating this shit. This is so obvious. Like, there's no such thing as a city in America that's unsafe, truly, right? And like, I've been to Baltimore, I've been to DC, I've been to Detroit, I've been to Chicago. These are huge cities. There might be some places that are unsafe at certain times of the day, maybe, especially depending on what you're doing. But it's not like you come out of the airport in Detroit and it's like, here's a fucking slap on your vest, get your 45, and as soon as you leave the airport, it's like every man for himself. Like, these are huge places. I don't know.
On the streets until ICE are out of our streets. Ain't that right? ICE out of LA.
ICE out of LA. Police in LA are overwhelmed. We gotta send in the Marines.
Even the fucking liberals that are like not even in Los Angeles. And I know they're not in LA because they're going, why are the brown people waving Mexico flags? It's like, bro, have you seen Los Angeles? Like, what the fuck do you mean? Why are the Mexican Americans waving Mexico flags in resistance against a fucking very clear racist act by the federal government that is...
I guess I don't even bother fighting this because I don't care. It's whatever. But I don't like the conflation of Mexican with like Hispanics that are in America that are American citizens. It feels weird. Like, Mexican is a nationality. I don't know what that has to do with the race technically, although they're using it as a proxy for race. But which I guess you can, but I don't know. But whatever, I guess.
Is targeting brown people. Of course they're gonna wave Mexico flags. It's Los Angeles. What the who gives a shit? What do you mean? What the do you mean? It's not called the Angels. It's called Los Angeles. This shit's so fucking annoying. Oh, they need to wave more American flags. It's like, yeah, really? Is that what's gonna do it for you? Because clearly the acts from the Trump administration was not enough for you to say unconditional support to these people. You have to see American flags for your sensibilities to kick in. Get the fuck out of here. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is also unironically using that as a reason to be like, see, it's an invasion. It's a foreign invasion. It's like, dude, they're American, you fucking idiot.
But what did you just say?
They're American citizens. They're waving their heritage. Your optics game. Holy shit. The do you mean? What optics?
Marines, meanwhile, the police in LA. Pokemon Go playing motherfuckers got their McDonald's delivered.
Yeah.
Oh, finally, we got Katy Perry's take. You really don't think there are any truly dangerous cities in America? No. There is no such thing as a danger, like where the entire city is dangerous? No, that's not a real thing. Just people just exaggerate a little bit. I'm just saying this in the context of like you can say there are some cities that have like a higher per capita murder rate, or there are some cities with scary parts, right? Which is true, that might be dangerous parts. But there's no like whole city where it's like just perspective. Just saying perspective. Los Angeles, a place that literally began as El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora La Reina de Los Angeles de Pochunungula, founded by Mexican settlers in 1781. This was once Mexican land, and the people being targeted today are often descendants of those who have lived here for generations. What are we talking about? What? What percentage of the Hispanic population in LA are like native there from the 1700s? Also, Mexican land from who? Who? Like, wasn't this was, these were other European countries that were expanding, right? Wasn't it like Spain and I don't know who the else? Like, these are all settler projects. Yeah, when did Mexico as a country even begin? Mexico. Wikipedia, give me the birth date. It was Mexican land at one point. It was probably massively uninhabited land, but I think all of this land is kind of like traded around a little bit, or was conquered and unconquered, and then the U.S. kind of spread west. And War of Independence in 1810. I don't know what it was called before then, though. Maybe it was like the big Mexican colony or something. I don't know. Are we going to end up with like fucking our own Mexican refugee Palestinian problem in the U.S. where it's like, Jesus. The rightful owners of any land are the second most recent people to hold it. True.
Like there is nothing more American, and I mean this in a positive way, okay? Normally when I say something is American, it's a pejorative, but in this circumstance, there's nothing more American in the positive affirmation sense than being able to wave the flag of the country of origin while you are here, okay? What are we talking about? What are we talking about, dude? It's disgusting. If you take issue with foreign flags being flown at protests, go take that up with Israel, which is a Nazi country doing an ethnic cleansing campaign.
Where did that come from? What? What does that have to do with any of this? What the fuck?
Mexico ain't doing all of that, all right? Where's the smoke for St. Patrick's Day parade, Oh, well, or where's the smoke for the Ukrainian protests? Oh, that's right, they're white, so it doesn't matter. It's not the kind of...
He does know that Russians are white as well, right? Like, there's white people on both sides of that, right?
A foreigner that we don't like in this country. To be fair, even with the Ukrainian one, people are starting to get agitated against that too, because Donald Trump hates Ukraine too. It's so fucking stupid, but...
Oh, good that he 180'd on that, I guess, like 3 times.
Italian flags at the Italian Day Parade. It's an invasion. It's an invasion. I'll die on this hill. We're never going to reach their sensibilities. As we need to raise the American flag so that the narrative can't be twisted in the media, which is what it's going to be.
Curious, what is the counter to people who argue that Ukraine joining the NATO is equivalent to the Cuban Missile Crisis? The counter argument is to make that the same. It would be like the Cuban Missile Crisis, except nuclear missiles were already in all of the other Caribbean island countries. We already have countries that border Russia. If we wanted to nuke Russia, we would just do it from fucking Estonia or whatever. Like this idea that we desperately need Ukraine to put nukes in, like they're called ICBMs, the intercontinental. It means they go far, fly far.
They do it every time. No, dude. What happens every time is squishy liberals such as yourself actually fucking fall into the same trap. You get dominated by the right-wing framing. And you actually lean on the sensibilities of a third party that you do not know exists out there, okay? The idea that there's a guy out there who's like, I don't really like that they're deporting people that are simply waiting for their paperwork to be processed. And I think that's an inherently violent act, but I can't get myself to be on board with these fucking protests until they wave the American flag, until they wave the flag of the state that's doing that.
I don't know how we could ever produce evidence of our claims, but it's funny that he says that. I feel like there's a huge group of people out there that are exactly like that. I feel like there's a huge group of people who are like, I would super love to throw a ton of moral weight and popular support behind some cause, but I don't want to get roped into having to defend Gaza and trans 4-year-olds and every other, deconstructing ESG, DEI, everything else. Like, I just want to be able to... Oh, somebody linked me something. I think I watched this off stream. And I feel like I understood something a little bit more. Oh, fuck. This. Okay. Jesus fuck.
huge amount of respect for anyone who goes to a protest, and especially the people who put their bodies on the line and physical safety on the line and their legal status on the line to be a part of a protest. But obviously there are smart and dumb ways to do it. We don't need to repeat that burning a Waymo is not smart, right? Just think to yourself, is Stephen Miller going to be delighted or unhappy about what I'm doing right now? And then, act accordingly. The one thing I just have noticed about protest movements, especially on the left over the last decade or so, is at some point it became an article of faith in progressive movements that every movement has to be about every one of a large bucket of issues. And I think it was a sort of a misunderstanding of the concept of intersectionality, which is a phrase that was coined in academic literature in the 80s about overlapping power structures that led to discrimination. But I think it's evolved to mean progressive organizations or movements think they have to talk about every one of a big bucket of issues because the issues are interconnected, even if the organization was founded to do one thing and not talk about another. And I think that is wrong. Like, I think if you need your movement to be focused on a specific outcome and designed to be as broad as possible to bring in as many people as possible. For example, the largest and most powerful movement to combat climate change should not force all the people who are a part of it to agree on Gaza. And the most effective movement to end the war in Gaza should include people on the left and like the isolationist right, like Thomas Massey, who agree on Gaza but disagree on climate change. And I think... Are you referencing some of the Palestinian flags that we saw in these protests? Yeah, like you just see different signage.
Like when I'm thinking of the signage and the flags, because I think I said this yesterday. I figured this out. Like, I'm actually not opposed to these flags being there. It's just what they represent, and all of these things are exclusionary instead of inclusionary. Inclusory? Are those words? I don't know if either of those words are real. But like if you see a march and there are a bunch of flags, and it's like, let's say that you're doing a march for women's rights, and you see LGBT flags, you see pro-Palestine flags, and you see Mexican flags, right? In an ideal world, you see this and you think, holy shit, we have a huge coalition of people here. All of us seem to agree broadly on women's rights, and there's like solidarity being shown with all these other movements. But it's not to show solidarity. What would happen is if you show up to that women's march and there's a guy with an LGBT flag, there's a person with a Gaza flag, and there's a person with a Mexican flag, what that means is that every single fucking person at that march better be ready to go from the river to the sea to pronoun circles and calling women birthing people instead of women, and acknowledging that like ICE and ACAB and the police all need to be deconstructed. Like, instead of it just being like, oh, look at all these other groups showing solidarity, it's like layers and layers of conditions that must be met in order to pass whatever intersectionally constructed purity test this social group has decided to enforce on itself. And it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, I would just rather... So I think when I say like, because I think it's like 3 days ago, I was like, none of these flags should be here. It's so cringe. It's not entirely accurate. I don't think there's anything wrong with those flags being there. And I think intuitively I was feeling it's like, if you want to bring a flag, fine, but bring an American flag too, just so you can show. Because I think that what that would signal to me at least is that like, okay, there's other groups that have other issues, but they also support this one, and that's good. But every flag becomes like a new set of conditions that you have to pass.
And flags and representations of different issues pop up everywhere. And it just, I think people are probably doing it in good faith.
Read this Atlantic article. It talks about that in depth. Oh, the coming Democratic Civil War. I saw this, but then it was a 30-minute listen, so fuck that. Fuck that.
But it muddles the message, and it just gets plucked up by Fox News and right-wing organizations and coded as scary left. And like you said, like there's no controlling who attends a protest or what people say there, and we shouldn't pretend that we can try or act like we have to take ownership for over the comments from every asshole at a Democratic protest, because Republicans certainly don't own everything said at a MAGA rally. But it is frustrating.
Yeah, I think we can't control or do anything about, random anarchists, morons, causing violence and chaos. And, we can plead with people to stop. When they get arrested for it, you say, yeah, of course they should be arrested if they're breaking the law, right?
Yep.
I think what happens is, like, if there isn't a...
Oh my God! I don't care. I don't even want credit for it, and I don't care. And I'm also, legitimately, they just might be figuring this out themselves, which is fine. I'm totally okay with it. I feel like he's about to stumble into the take ahead of... Oh my God, this is something I've realized so long ago, because I'm like, why is everybody arguing about fucking trans 4-year-olds? Like, nobody supports this shit. The issue isn't how many people support it. The issue is how many people are willing to defend it and how many people are willing to disavow it. And those two things become a proxy for support. The issue isn't somebody saying, I have a 4-year-old trans kid. That's like nobody. The issue is all the Democrats that come out of the woodwork and are like, well, fuck, I mean, if they I mean, if they say that they're trans and for, I mean, me, what am I going to do? Be anti-trans? I guess, like, maybe. And now all of a sudden you've got like 10 million people defending this like once in a lifetime phenomenon of the 4-year-old trans kids. Like, what the fuck, guys? Come on. What are we doing? Why we're seriously getting baited into this? Like, stop. Call them a fucking retard and move on. It's that easy. Or take a fall guy. I'll be the Democrat fall guy. I'll call him retarded and we can all move on. Jesus. And before he says something completely different. And before he says the exact opposite of what I just said.
Causing violence and chaos. And, you know, we can plead with people to stop. When they get arrested for it, you say, yeah, of course they should be arrested if they're breaking the law, right? I think what happens is, like, if there isn't a big, loud, organized, peaceful protest movement that is explicitly committed to nonviolence as not just a political strategy, but a moral imperative.
Oh, okay. He took the parallel track. Not saying that we have to necessarily disavow those people, but there has to be like an ultra visible, like, this is true. There needs to be like an ultra visible, this is the organizer, the person, this is the march, and then this is like spitting out like a ton of positive propaganda, of pictures, of videos, of everything else. And these things do exist. They're just not it's not organized, or it doesn't feel that way at least. But maybe I haven't engaged with it enough. Maybe it is more organized than I realize. I just don't see it as much.
The vacuum is filled with what the right and Trump and all those people want to say the protests are about, and the more violent, chaotic protesters. And so part of this speaks for need for like us to, and you know, everyone's been trying to build an opposition since Trump came back into power of like a real organized, peaceful protest movement. Kind of, I mean, and you saw that today when you went down there, and we've seen that in other parts of the country, like throughout the last couple of months. It's starting to build, but this just, I think, highlights the need for it, because it's really hard to break through with a peace.
How do you start to convince progressives that pragmatism is more politically effective? For true progressives, it's very easy to convince them. You just point to harmed communities and you say we should do things to benefit these communities. The issue that you're having is people are still viewing us as being on a political, on a two-dimensional political axis, and we're not. Well, one-dimensional. Sorry, a line. Where you have in the middle, you have centrists. On the right, you have Republicans, and on the far right, you've got MAGA, and further right, you've got Nazis. And then on the left, you've got your center-left libs, and Democrats, and progressives, and then tankies or whatever. But that's not true. The people who are furthest on these axes, on this axis, they're not liberals. They don't believe in liberalism. They don't believe in things like it's so funny. Hasan was like, one of the most important things that America has is freedom of speech. But you heard him talk to Ethan when Ethan asked him, what would you do if people wanted to be capitalists in your society? He would throw them in re-education prisons and force them to be ideologically homogenous with the ML society, right? So like liberal, anti-liberal people don't belong on the same graph. They're not charted the same. It's one of the reasons why also sometimes although this hasn't happened as much recently, but sometimes the MAGA analysis fails. MAGA is not just a further right version of the neocon stuff. Trump is not a traditional Republican in any sense of the word, and he doesn't go further than Republicans on things. He veers off into a different axis. He veers off into the authoritarian world, or into the anti-liberal world, which is where the tankies and the MLs and the commies and the socialists all veer off there as well. You don't need those people as allies. Give somebody to rally around who's like a strong center-left figure. You have a strong base there. You just have to like give them something to organize around and fight for.
Peaceful, organized protest, because
Found out I have stage 7 brain cancer today, then arrive home to find out I'm banned. Well, thanks, test. Why are you banned?
This just, I think, highlights the need for it, because it's really hard to break through with a peaceful, organized protest, because it's not as exciting to cover, right? Yep. And the right certainly doesn't want to cover it, and Donald Trump doesn't want to acknowledge it, and neither does Stephen Miller or any of those people. Yep. But that just means that it has to be even bigger and even louder, and it has to, again...
but the issue, too, the reason why there's no coverage is because lefties don't want to cover it. Nobody in the alternative media sphere, I think, it doesn't feel like there's much excitement out there to even cover those things, right? Like, who would amplify it? I need other big names, I guess. Who are other big names in this space, in like the far lefty space? Because obviously Hasan wants to amplify the violent types. That's who I see in my world. I don't browse TikTok as much. What are the other? AOC? AOC is like disavowed by these people at this point. I don't know if I would call her like a far left.
I'm very...
Oh, we listened to this already yesterday.
You have to repeat over and over again that nonviolence is the strategy here, right? Because you're right that the civil rights movement, a lot of that was not very popular when it was happening. But by the time you get to Selma, and there's incredible violence visited upon the protesters at Selma, but because they believed in nonviolence as a strategy, they did not fight back. Polls taken right after Selma showed people overwhelmingly, including white people, a plurality of white people, on the side of the protesters at Selma, not on the side, and that's what actually turned it. Now.
Yeah, keep in mind, there's a lot of young white people today, and I guess some radical black people, who try to argue that the only reason civil rights worked was because of violence. So they've like rewritten history to suit their narrative as well. But
that took a long time, but like it requires a level of discipline that I think we have not had to maintain yet.
Well, I think part of it too is the answer, right, is, oh, you think that these protests need to be bigger and they need to have a more clear, nonviolent message, and that needs to be obvious that it represents the vast majority of people participating. You're not going to get that by posting about it or beseeching people online. You got to show up. And like, you know, the protest I was at today, far bigger than any of the more violent demonstrations. It was a bunch of different people. And also, by the way, the message was very clear. It was about freeing a man who represented the kind of overreach of the Trump administration, was demonstrating in the raids it conducted over the weekend and in the arrest and the deploying of the National Guard and now the Marines. But the way...
Was it about somebody local to LA, or was it Abrego Garcia? Or
we show that this movement is largely peaceful, nonviolent, with specific goals and aims, is for everyone to come be a part of it and show just by numbers. And so, like, what I hope comes over the next, like, this is what we're seeing right now is, I think, the first phase of how we kind of respond to Trump. It is a mix of protests as awareness raising, as demonstrating power and community, and also about specific practical actions to slow or stop the administration and what it's trying to do. And we just have to keep building that muscle. I think the unions are going to be central to this. I think it's really powerful when you see people just saying stop arresting workers when it's about people's jobs, whether they're undocumented or not, whether they're in the union or not. These are not criminals, these are neighbors, these are people just showing up to get work. I think that's really powerful. It's powerful when the leader of the building trade spoke out on behalf of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And I think, like, we got to figure out how to let those unions and those moments kind of become a nexus where more and more people feel obligated to show up and participate.
Yeah, and know what you're getting yourself into, right? Like you one challenge with these immigration raids, and this is different than shipping people off to CCOT without a trial, is the president has broad authority to detain and ultimately deport people who are undocumented. And you also can get arrested if you impede federal law enforcement, including ICE agents, from carrying out their operation. And this is how they're getting people. This is what they're charging David Huerta with, some other people. So you stand in front of a building that ICE is trying to raid, like, you're going to get arrested for that, you know, and they do have the authority to do that. So, you know, there's peaceful protests. There's a whole good reason for them to be peaceful, but unless you want to be arrested because it's civil disobedience, you should.
Which is fine. I think that's a form of, I don't know if you would call that violence or not, but I think that's a totally acceptable form of protesting. You probably are going to get arrested, but I mean, that's part of the protest, right?
Know what you're getting into.
The other part of it too is, you know, if you go back to the protest of the Iraq War in 2003, there are like a whole range of messages. I'm sure some of which would have been seen as incredibly unpopular. You're at a protest today, it's a mix of people saying, uphold the Constitution, abolish ICE, get ICE out of LA, whatever kind of, it's just going to be a wide range of messages, some good, some, you know, less polling well, whatever the fuck. But what you really need is for the leaders and organizations all to kind of have a clear set of goals that they're kind of rallying around, and that becomes the kind of the kind of middle of the message. Do
you think Glendale canceling the contract with ICE had something to do with the Waymo cars getting burned? I don't know why that's even a big deal. When I was in Glendale, I was like, isn't that city like 70% Armenians? Like, are there even illegal immigrants in Glendale? It's just, I feel like it's a super nice city. I don't know, but it's been a while.
And there are people on other sides of it saying all kinds of stuff, but there needs to be a clear kind of tentpole goal.
That's the more important conversation to be having on social media and through the press, because it is both frustrating and sort of funny that, like, people who are listening to us right now,
I feel like 90% of the protesters just want clout or some shit. That's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. We just have to align the clout with the political action, with the political goal. Like, if the goal is we're having a largely peaceful protest, or it can even be like a civil disobedience protest to block some ICE gate or whatever, and you want to be part of that protest, and you've got like clear actionable things. ICE needs to leave California, the National Guard needs to disband, or Trump needs to give it back to Newsom or whatever. Like, if you want to go and show up for clout and take pictures, fine. Who the cares? That's fine. I think having the interests aligned there is perfectly a-okay. If you were to have like a Mr. Beast, selfie event where you had to show up in Seattle and like in order to get a selfie with Mr. Beast, you have to prove that you gave like $50 to a homeless guy. Who the fuck cares? I don't think the homeless guy gives a if he gets $50 or not. Like, it's okay if like the interests are aligned. Like that's good clout. Like, what are you even saying at that point? What is clout? Clout is saying I want like attention for something. Like, okay, well, if we can find like a good thing for you to get attention for, I think that's great. That's fine. Yeah, that's good clout. You want people to have that kind of clout.
People who are reading pieces in the Atlantic and the New York Times on social media, they're probably not the people who are lighting the Waymos on fire. Right. So when everyone's giving warnings to like, we must be peaceful and don't do this, it's like, yeah, everyone you're talking to is good. And the people who are lighting the Waymos on fire probably aren't like looking through the Atlantic at the latest piece about how we're giving Trump everything he wants.
Have you heard in the Daily? Put that Molotov cocktail away.
Apple bomb stands. I think.
Also, by the way, like there's all this like, wave the American flag. People on Twitter saying wave the American flag, don't wave the Mexican flag. It's like, fine, but like if you're at these protests, there's a whole bunch of flags. They're American flags, they're Mexican flags, and like it is. Like people could be proud of being Mexican and want America to be a great place that it is their home. It's like it's all a little bit like.
But again, it's like I see that on Twitter. People are like, oh, the Mexican. Like, what do you want Democrats to do about it? You want to go to the protest, rip the Mexican flags out of people's hands, and stick it in America? Like, we can't organize. Like, what are you talking about?
You can be proud to be Mexican in America.
Yeah,
you can be proud to be Jewish. You can be proud to be whatever you want to be.
All right, Irish people in Boston.
Yeah. Today's presenting sponsor is Simply Safe Homes.
I mean, that's true. Just bring more American flags as well. Maybe they're a lot out there in other parts, and I'm just not seeing it.